All right, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our monthly Mental Health Innovations Exchange meeting. Carrie is giving a presentation right now, so I'm taking over for her as the host, but she will be back for you next month for sure. Um, I'll be trying to do double duty, watching the chat, admitting people as they come in. But yeah, thanks so much for joining us, everyone. I'd like to welcome Sean Brotherson as well as Isabelle Wettergren, who will be presenting for us today. Um, yeah, I'll go ahead and let Sean take over if you'd like to go ahead and start. I'm not gonna dig into your time. If you'd like to start sharing your screen and introduce yourself.
All right, thank you. Um, my name is Sean Brotherson. I am a professor and extension family science specialist at North Dakota State University in Fargo, North Dakota. I'll screen share momentarily, but first wanted to just provide a little bit of background. I've been in North Dakota since 1998. Um, uh, would love to have a conversation with all of you about this topic. Some of you I know. Bob Fetch, I see, is on the call, and Bob and I met probably in 1998, my first year in extension. So Bob and other folks, many of you on this call have been doing this for a long time, and although I've been doing it since 1998, there's others who've been doing it longer, but I'm glad to share a little bit of our experience in North Dakota over the past several years. Um, in addition to my professional background in education and mental health, family relations, and stress management, I also have an agricultural background. I grew up with an agricultural operation that's a multi-generational livestock management operation in central and eastern Utah. We had a large beef cattle operation as well as raising sheep and alfalfa hay. And so I grew up around agriculture, have enjoyed the rhythms of working in agriculture for most of my life, and very much enjoy the opportunity to work with people who are in that industry and from different parts of rural America. When I came into Extension, the very first topic that I was asked to address in 1998 was farm stress, and I've been involved in doing that ever since. So that's a little bit of my professional background. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we'll focus mostly on talking about our efforts in North Dakota uh, with agricultural counseling and mental health, as well as some of our educational efforts at the end. And then we'll have a little bit of time at the end of my presentation for question and answer. And then we will transition, and Isabelle will start to share. So looks like someone else is uh, screen sharing. So hopefully I'll be able to screen share.
Just fixed it.
All right. So, um, so I titled this Farm Stress Hits Home, Agricultural Counseling and Mental Health Education Efforts in North Dakota. I have served as the project director for our farm stress and mental health efforts in North Dakota uh, for many years, but especially for the last 12 to 14 years, and have been the lead project director and project investigator on now 5 federal grants from USDA related to farm stress and mental health. And I'll talk about those grants in just a little bit, but let me give a little bit of background. As many of you are familiar, farming and ranching tends to rank among the top 10 most stressful occupations in the United States. And the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health has noted that incidents of stress-related health concerns, physical health concerns, such as hypertension, as heart disease and other things, tend to be higher in agricultural populations, and there are also higher levels of mental and behavioral health concerns uh, in agricultural um, uh, populations. And so stress is something that's pretty common in agriculture. We know many of the reasons why that is. There are many factors that affect what's happening in farming and ranching that are beyond a person's immediate control. And so early on in our work, we developed a model um, to look at uh, this issue of rural stress and wellness. Let me pause for a second. Laura, do I need to reshare or?
Yes. Sorry about
No,
that.
that's all right. So we developed, hopefully, can you see that now, Laura?
Yes.
Isabelle says no. Let me, Isabelle, is that better? Yes? Okay. Thanks for those of you who are responding. So I'm assuming now you can see the slide that I'm sharing. Anyway, so this model of rural stress and family wellness basically indicates um, that individuals and families are embedded in an agricultural system where they often deal with pressures in agriculture. And so in this model, the stresses and pressures often will begin in the agricultural system. They're often economic stresses. They may be other stresses, but they don't tend to stay limited to the agricultural operation. Instead, they ripple out into the lives and the well-being of individuals and families and their relationships. And so you see this pattern where pressures in agriculture will ripple out into the lives of uh, uh, an experience of the farm operation, those working in the farm operation, and also in the family and their financial situation. Um, those economic stresses then tend to spill over into the personal well-being of individuals, and so those higher rates of physical and mental health related concerns that we just talked about. And then you'll also see spill over into their relationships where people will have more strained relationships, conflict in relationships, things like that, both with family members and coworkers, and then also spilling out into the lives of children, youth, and communities. And so dealing with stresses that are often beyond our immediate ability to manage can be a real challenge for those working in agriculture. And so in our work, we've tried to focus on what are things that we can have some control over and make a difference. And this is a little graphic that we developed that reflects a little bit of our philosophy. This is a simple question: what matters more, tractor maintenance or farmer maintenance? And there was some research done in Australia with focus groups with male farmers, and this is back in the mid 2000s. And um, I like this quote. This farmer says they maintain their tractors, they maintain their pumps and everything, but they don't maintain themselves. Talking about giving attention to self-care and self-support and support of others with regard to mental and behavioral health for himself and many of his peers. And I think we find that to be true in many areas of agriculture. And so for us in North Dakota, one important priority has been to have a simple set of clear and consistent messages that we want to communicate to folks in the agricultural space and those working around it about this. And part of it is that just as um, people rely on their equipment, particularly during times of harvest season, as an example, to be functional and to get their work done in agriculture. Similarly, they rely on their health and well-being to function, to get things done, and to be resilient during times of elevated stress, particularly when you have long hours in the field. For example, if you're during harvest season or planting season. And so the messages that we came up with and have prioritized are fairly simple. Uh, these are not all inclusive, but some of the priority messages that we try to, in every interview and every conversation that we try to communicate, include these. Number one, that your health is your most important asset as a farmer, rancher, or agricultural worker, more important than the land, capital, labor, seed, or many other things you might identify. And then that farm worker health and safety is thus the most important priority. If health is your most important asset, it needs to be your most important priority in managing a farm or ranch operation. And that good stress management is good farm management. So USDA, a number of years ago, as many of you are familiar, made available grants to establish farm and ranch stress assistance programs across the United States. Those grants are regional, and I'm part of the North Central Farm and Ranch Stress Assistance Center. That's led by the University of Illinois. And North Dakota is included with 12 states in the North Central region. In the guidance for those grants from USDA NIFA, one of the purposes says to establish a network that connects individuals engaged in farming, ranching, and other agriculture-related occupations to stress assistance programs. And one of the possibilities listed under that is that the grant can be used to initiate, expand, or sustain programs that provide professional agricultural behavioral health counseling and referral for other forms of assistance as necessary. And so not all states opt into that. In fact, I think a minority of states have opted in. But in our region, initially, when these grants started, there were 3 states that started to explore professional agricultural behavioral health counseling and looking at different models. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about our model in North Dakota. There's other models across the United States you may have heard of, but I'll talk a little bit about ours. Ours has been a multi-year project. Again, we've had now 5 grants that have come in this particular area. And one of the things we did early on is develop partnerships with different partners. And we decided that our counseling effort would be with a partner provider called Together Counseling. They were part of North Dakota Lutheran Social Services, but in our state, that organization dissolved. And so Together Counseling, which had been associated with them, formed, and they had a long history of working with counseling efforts across the state, as well as particularly with agricultural mental health counseling. We also partnered with our crisis line referral organization in North Dakota, and also they provide community services referrals, and that organization is called First Link. They do training in areas like mental health and suicide prevention. So these are our partners that we partnered with, and that was our first step. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our counseling effort with Together Counseling. So the lead counselor there is Becky Kopp Dunham. Becky and her family live and work on a farm operation. She's a trained counselor and has worked doing agricultural mental health counseling for a significant period of time. And it was important for us as we got up and running that we wanted to have individuals who were ag-informed professionals, and that they could be available both in person and through telehealth circumstances. Our grant has made it possible for us to provide counseling at limited or no cost. The individuals who qualify are those who work in agriculture or related fields and have particular need. And we have found that about 65 to 70% of the counseling sessions that are done in our program are telehealth counseling. But getting this up and running was kind of the first step, and we felt like we needed to do quite a bit of marketing. And so our marketing efforts have been quite simple. We came up with and I'll show you this in a minute, a simple wallet-sized card that we could share, and we printed these in the thousands and shared them across the state through our extension system and with any other agricultural industry provider that we could partner with. So this is called the Bootstraps handout, and it talks a little bit about mental health, depression, getting assistance, and we've created table tents and wallet-sized handouts. And basically just communicates, are you wearing out your bootstraps? You don't have to go it alone. Here are some sources to get help. And so we wanted to find champions who would share this resource. This is one of our extension agents, Cindy, and Cindy would order these by 1,000 at a time and then share them with folks in her community. Um, and you can see it's very small, simple handout, but that was our primary marketing effort. There have been other things that we do. Um, for example, we've gone wherever we could in the state uh, to farm outreach events to bring the resources that we have to them. And this is a farm show in Fargo called the Big Iron Farm Show. And we do this every year. This is Becky, our lead counselor with Together Counseling. And we meet people there. We do media for 3 days. We let people know about uh, the the availability of counseling um, through Together Counseling focused on agriculture and mental health. So a little bit as we ramped up and did this effort, we started in 2021 and it took a little while. You can see the first 4 months we had 7 or 8 sessions a month. And then about June, we started to get some traction and we went from about 7 to 10 sessions a month, bumped up to 15, and then kept going up 35, 45, 55. And so we we started to average around 50 to 60 counseling sessions a month. We noticed there were times that it was uh, more common. We have four counselors who are providing the counseling services under this grant. And so we were about 50 to 60 sessions a month. We got as high as nearly 100 sessions in months from February to April. And then as we would come into the spring and planting season, we dropped way back down to about 30 to 40 sessions a month. So it is cyclical due to the rhythms of agriculture. We've seen less counseling sessions during the months of basically May through August, and then once September hits and people start getting done with harvest, then we see it go back up during the fall and winter months of the year. Um, so if you look at information, our providers are providing about anywhere from 8 to 15 sessions per client as they're seeing individuals. This is an example of our 4 providers. One averaged about 9 sessions, one averaged about 10, one had 16, and one had 14. Those with higher volume had some clients with high need for support. And so that's why you see um, a higher number of sessions with them. The cost per client that we've calculated ranged anywhere from a low of about $600 per client to as high as $1,300 per client. So it's been a little bit variable depending on, the insurance they carry and how we work with their insurance and things like that. We planned in our grant to have 125 counseling sessions per year. Over the first 2 years, we started in the first 6 months and had about 125 sessions. So we could see that we were on pace to be higher than our planned number of 125 sessions a year. But once we got up and rolling, we've had a lot of consistency in the number of sessions offered, and it's been between 300 and 350 sessions for every 6 months since then. So we're averaging about 1,200 sessions over the first 2 years, and we find now we're doing about 600 to 650 sessions a year, which has been consistent and has been really positive. We've worked with over 100 different clients. A couple of things before I kind of wrap up and let you ask any questions. We're doing some follow-up research with these projects. One, we're doing a farm-to-farm services, which is what Together Counseling calls their agricultural mental health counseling program. We're doing a follow-up survey with clients to look at topics like satisfaction with services received, the impact of services on different stress and coping factors, any changes associated with services received, and other variables like financial stress, health, and their farming situation. We're also working with these providers and some others to develop some interviews and focus groups to look at best practices in agricultural mental health counseling, including barriers to service, lessons learned, and other best practices. So I'd be happy to share those as we learn more information. A couple of other things that we do in North Dakota. One is in the area of farm stress and mental health topics. We have provided a range of supportive lesson plans and tailored presentations on the topic of farm stress and mental health that we try to integrate into training with other opportunities where folks working in agriculture are already going to be. And so the question we ask is, what other settings can we present to agricultural audiences and integrate this training? The graphic is an example of a brief lesson we have that's simple. What can I do to help someone who's dealing with stress? So how can I make a referral? How can I be supportive? And that's very brief, maybe 10 to 15-minute lessons. So what we do will vary depending on the audience. In 2023, through extension, we did about 50 presentations reaching over 2,150 people. So we do everything from integrating it with pesticide applicator training to manure hauler training to Annie's project training. So a lot of different venues. So that's one mechanism. Then we have some targeted trainings that we also do. A mental health first aid is one of the mental health awareness programs that we do. That is typically a 6 to 8 hour training in a day. We partner with FirstLink, our partner provider, to do that particular training. We offer about 6 to 10 trainings a year. That's what our funding allows. And we train about 125 individuals a year over the last 3 to 4 years in that particular program. Another program that we've done and built some capacity and are offering regularly is the QPR suicide prevention program. That training is free. We offer it at no charge because of support from our USDA grants. We have trained about 10 trainers in extension to become trainers for that particular program. In 2023, we offered 15 educational sessions. Most of our trainers have come online in the last year, but in 2023, we had 15 sessions and reached a little over 350 individuals with that specific training related to suicide prevention. So kind of to wrap up, um, uh, these are some of the ways that we've responded to concerns of mental and behavioral health issues in agricultural populations in the upper Midwest and specifically in the state of North Dakota. This is my contact information. It's pretty simple, sean.brotherson@ndsu.edu. Please feel free to reach out to me with any questions or opportunities to discuss these things. I'm happy to share any of our resources and information. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and go ahead and
Thank you so much, Sean. That was fantastic. Y'all have done some really great work in North Dakota. We have one question in the chat so far. How many men, if you know this, follow through with 3 to 6 sessions? And well, I'll let you answer that one first.
yeah. So in the counseling space, when we're talking about getting men to follow through with the experience for counseling, we prioritize trying to have our counselors build a good relationship of rapport within the first 2 sessions. Men will often make a decision about whether to continue counseling services or not within a short period of time. And that's why we have very much emphasized having agriculture informed professionals. So, and our professional will have a conversation with them at the outset when they're having their first conversation about what their background is relative to agriculture and understanding their particular context in agriculture. We've found it to be important, for example, for our counselors to make adjustments, and they might provide counseling sessions at 7 in the morning. That they might adjust to the availability of those individuals who are working in a farm or ranch setting. And um, so we've actually, I think, had a very high retention rate in those first 2 sessions with men because because for what we have found with men as we're serving them in agriculture is that the primary decision as to whether they want to continue is, do they feel like the person on the counseling end of the equation understands their agricultural context and the pressures they're dealing with. And if they do, then they're much more willing to give the opportunity a chance. And so that's been critical for us. The other has been, frankly, lowering the financial barrier. And reassuring them that the grant has funds available and will cover those sessions, at least 3 to 6 sessions, that those will be covered. Removing that financial barrier, that tends to be the other thing that men tend to focus on is, am I going to have a financial difficulty here, or is there support provided? And lowering that barrier has been significant in getting men to access those services.
Thank you. And you kind of answered this, but their second question was like, what works best to get men to participate in the sessions?
Yeah, the other thing I would add is that people people ask me what's the best way to get people, you know, especially men in agriculture, willing to participate in agricultural counseling supports. And my answer is very short. It's women. And what I mean by that is women in the agricultural space tend to be more attuned to these issues of health, and they tend to be very good at inviting and building on-ramps for men. And so it's really important that uh, we recognize that it sometimes men will not be the first foot in the door. It may be a partner of theirs, a spouse or a significant other, a sister, an aunt, a grandmother, a mother, who is cracking the door and saying, I think this would be helpful for you. And so making sure that we recognize that and help men to understand that those invitations coming from women in their lives can be helpful. That's been something that's been important in the landscape of how we've operated with this. So
That's fantastic. Well, we have 2 more minutes for questions if anyone else has anything they'd like to inquire about. All right, I don't see anyone popping up, so thank you again. Oh, okay. Last question. Has there been any hesitation or guilt from participants to use that financial support from the grant?
um, we haven't found a lot of difficulty with that. We've actually found it that when we're able to offer that, and we don't do it with a lot of strings attached. We try to make sure there's no shame involved. But most of the people we talk to, they're dealing with financial pressures, and they are relieved to be able to participate in a meaningful opportunity that can be of assistance to them, but not have an additional financial stress that is levied on them because of their willingness to participate. And so we've actually found that, again, lowering that financial barrier it relieves stress for people, and it is something that helps to build an on-ramp for them to participate in the counseling service. So
That's fantastic. We have another question in there, but I want to make sure to give time for Isabelle. So if we have time at the end, we can circle back, or Sean, you're welcome to answer them directly in the chat. And remember, if you think of a question later, you're always welcome to email Sean as well. Sean, maybe if you could put your email in the chat too, since I forgot to capture that for everyone.
yeah, I'll do that.
Thank
Thank you.
you very much. All right, well, I'll go ahead and let Isabelle start.
Wonderful. Hello, everyone, and thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here with you all today. I don't have an ag background. My background is in education. I was a teacher for 25 years, and I am also a survivor of childhood trauma and an addiction. So this is in that regard that I come to you. My topic is about the recovery-friendly workplace, not focusing on the problem, but really really on the solution and really going upstream and preventing addiction in the first place, or building literacy in terms of what is substance use disorder and that kind of thing. So today, my intention for you guys today, I'm going to give you a high-level introduction of the Recovery Friendly Workplace. I serve on the National Recovery Friendly Workplace Institute, and as well as I'm a board member on the Recovery Friendly Workplace Coalition for the state of Florida. I'm also involved a little bit with Minnesota, who just got the state, they just became a recovery friendly workplace a couple months ago. So that's really exciting. So I'm going to give you a very high level introduction of what is recovery friendly workplace, the definition. And then what I'm here really for you guys is to show you this super cool tool, an educational tool that can be used to help build literacy and self-awareness around topics of mental health and substance use. So as a definition, the recovery-friendly workplace is a place of work in which the employer, in collaboration with employee, establishes, maintains, and continually enhances policies, practices, and a culture and work environment that are supportive of current and prospective employees in recovery from or otherwise affected by substance use disorder. Basically, what we're trying to do is to create this space where people can feel okay to go to their manager, their director, their coworker, their frontline manager, their father, their uncles in this situation about their misuse or their use of substances. And why is it important is because employer-initiated treatment is more successful than treatment initiated by friends or family members. So when the employer steps in and say, hey, we're noticing that maybe you have a problem, or is there something that we can do for you? The employee doesn't feel like they're going to lose their job or they're going to be judged. Rather, they feel supported. So it takes a little bit away from the shame and the guilt that an employee might have to feel that they're supported at work. So the 4 pillars of the recovery-friendly workplace, this is the federal toolkit. So you'll see that I'm using recovery-friendly workplace and recovery-ready workplace, potato, potato, okay? So it's kind of the same thing. At the federal level, they decided to call it recovery-ready workplace. And most states, most organizations, they call it recovery-friendly workplace. So this is a 140-page document. It's available online, but can you see my screen? Yeah. Okay. It's so it's a 140-page document, and in which really it goes into details about the 4 pillars of the recovery-friendly workplace. So what is it? So we want to prevent and reduce the risks in the first place. So in terms of, I'm thinking in the ag industry, I mean, it's very physical, it's demanding hours. It's not like you can wait, you have to show up for the work. So we do have a substance use that is being misused, if you will, for opioids. I know that in the farming industry, we do have a lot of opioids problematic and overuse and even death by poisoning. So we want to make sure that we are creating the conditions where the individual doesn't necessarily need to be on opioids. What other alternatives can you do? What's the role of insurance in there? My area of expertise really is in the training, the education, and the stigma reduction effort. This is where the rest of my presentation, that's where it is. Hiring and employment also, how can we hire people that are in, I see there's a lot of chat. I hope you guys can see. Oh, okay. Unrelated to me. Good. So hiring and employment, and then treatment and recovery support. So these are the 4 pillars of the recovery-friendly workplace. Okay, so what I'm here to introduce you to is this super cool educational tool. In fact, it is the fastest growing interactive educational tool that there is. It can be done online, it can be done in person, and I'm really excited to tell you about it. It's called R1 Learning. And we are an educational company that focuses on mental health and well-being, substance use disorder, addiction and recovery, and also life skills, because we know that substance use, oftentimes it starts with people not knowing how to cope. So by developing emotional literacy and establishing healthier boundaries, some people can really reduce their risk of developing substance use disorder, or at least being aware that they are on the path to unsafe use. So our solutions are tools, and they're digital, they're in person, they're research-based, it's colorful, it's beautiful. We started in 2018 in the behavioral health settings, really to establish a strong credibility. We are now in, I heard the question about how do you get men to talk. This is a gamified approach to science. So we are in criminal justice and corrections we have the entire state of California, we have the entire contract in Indiana and other states as well. So getting men to talk is easy with this curriculum because it's fun. And I will show you how. So I am here to represent the workplace, different kind of workplaces, but the tools remain the same. The way that it will be delivered by the facilitator will really create the conversation. So our focus are on the recovery-friendly workplace, but really employee assistance program, which you may not have, but really we're looking at the whole farmer health, that sort of thing. Our solutions are virtual, so we can do trainings online. And in fact, I'm going to invite you to a free training after this. That's my gift to you. We can do it in person with playing cards. So that's kind of fun. We have Train the Trainer. We have all sorts of resources. So this is the version where a facilitator would have like 12 decks of cards and a facilitator's guide, and you would be doing a training. So if you are in a facility, you are a peer support, a social worker, a therapist, or a recovery coach, clinical director, anybody can really use these tools. We do have now an online platform, so that can be done. So I know in rural area, people may not have access to centers and may not have the time, but each of these activity can take like 10, 15 minutes online. And then it gives you an overview of your results, and when done with a therapist or a coach or a peer support, you can also create a game plan based on the results. So it is comprehensive, modular, structured, and scalable. So for some people, what they want to work on is just one topic. It's like, what if substance use disorder? Like, what are the 9 categories of substances? So exploring each themes. The stages of change is a very good topic as well. All of our topics are based on science, in scientific knowledge. So for the stages of change, let's say, we're using the trans-theoretical theory model, and then the curve of addiction, we are going with the Jelinek curve. So every one of the topic is based in science. So these are some of the topics that we are offer either right now or they are in the roadmap, on the roadmap. The stages of change, recovery capital, emotional triggers, emotions and feelings. So let's say the emotional trigger, someone has what would be labeled anger issue. So going and creating a plan based on the results from an activity on emotional triggers would be really helpful. Identifying the triggers in the first place, again, going upstream, what is it that triggered you? That would be really beneficial for someone to know. So really, it's empowering people. It is self-exploration. Most of our topics come with a short video, a little intro video that are really cool. And our activities are actually cards. So they are playing cards. So if I'm to do it with you in person, we would have a deck of cards and we would be doing the activity. Online is the same thing, but you would click and drag. So the activities are the same. You would click and drag. The advantage of doing it online is that it collects so much data. So this is the dashboards that you would see. This is the online version where over here you see all the topics that we have. We have the videos, we have the activity, the people do the activity where they click and drag, and here they have their report that is mailed to them, also looking at the scientific model. So we do have the dashboard as an employer, as a practitioner. You want to see, well, who is using it? We're monitoring progress, the speed to engagement, the topics that are most used. So if, let's say, recovery capital is the topic that is most used, you know that as an organization, you need to put more effort in building resources around recovery capital. And then this is here, the company dashboard. This is if you are to subscribe to our online platform, you would get all sorts of data available. And there's always people that are so eager to learn more about the data. You know, if you can't measure it, you can't change it. So we are here for you. So each of our topics come with a guide, which it helps for fidelity. So there's instructions, specific instructions and worksheets. This one is for healthy boundaries. It tells you what the cards are in the deck. It tells you the model that we're using. It describes the boundary management system, like it defines everything. So each of the topic comes with a very thorough facilitator's guide, as well as at least 4 activities per guide. You also have activity sheets that you can do in person. Our activity sheets are actually downloadable for free on our website, so you can check them out. And again, the activities. So we do have several ways to help you. From a deck of cards, let's say you're like, oh, I'm curious, this sounds kind of fun, let me check it out. So you can purchase just a facilitator's guide with 1 deck of cards and familiarize yourself with our content. And then if you're like, oh, let me see if I can do a group with this, well, then you move to the group. You buy several cards. And this is the beauty of this thing is, I'm thinking about the comments and how do you get men to talk? Men aren't really, they won't really talk so much unless you give them something to talk about. So when we move, did I show you this one already? So this slide right here on the recovery capital, this is what I'm calling, like, it's building the literacy, right? What is my recovery capital? So we are identifying what are the personal strength of the individual, the social, the community strengths, the barriers, and the unmet needs. So maybe they need transportation, maybe the stigma, maybe they're ashamed because they don't want to tarnish the reputation of their family. So we do have these decks of cards. So this is what it would look like. There's statements, yes, no statement, this I relate to, this I don't. And that's how you go about to doing the activity. Okay, I went through this already. So our solutions, we do have in-person trainings for groups of 9 or more. We do offer virtual training, which is a 20-hour, it's during 1 week, 5 hours a day, 4 hours a day for 5 days. I'm one of the trainers. We do virtual training, one-on-one engagement, again, and all that. So this is my gift to you. because you're probably very curious. And to be honest, like when I was introduced to R1 about a year ago, I was like, I don't get it. I really don't get it. So my gift to you is that I offer you to come on December 12th and then register. And I'm going to be facilitating an hour and a half training on substance use. So during that training, we're going to be going over the substance use topic, and we're going to explore the 9 substance classes briefly, because not all substances are created equal, and they all have withdrawal symptoms that are different. So we need to familiarize ourselves with it before we can even start talking about a solution, right? It's like, what are we talking about when we're talking about opioids? Caffeine? Caffeine is a substance? Yes. Think about how hard it is to get off caffeine, or, people, even if you don't have an experience, a lived experience with addiction, you can really feel for the person when you're doing these activities, because you're like, yeah, I tried to get off caffeine. I tried to get off sugar. That was really hard. So again, it's just creating this connection and this relevance. And then during our free 90-minute training, it's going to be an overview. We're going over, what are the criterias, not as in a way to diagnose someone, but really as self-exploration. So again, they will be the same cards that I showed you earlier. Yes, that relate to this statement. No, I don't. And then it will paint a picture of where are you in terms of criterias. So, as part of the training, we're going to be going over each of them, describing them, the use, the control, the time, the craving, and then the problems, right? People that have substance use disorder, typically they miss some major roles and obligations, social, important activity, problems, physically hazardous. So under the influence, driving under the influence, operating machinery under the influence. So this is a self activity that they're going to be doing. And then tolerance and withdrawal. So these are the symptoms. So these are some of the behaviors that we're going to go over during our activity. You will see these cards. And again, it's to build literacy. If you say to someone, so tell me about your use, it's like, I don't know. But if you have some statements and they can really explore yes or no, it's a form of motivational interviewing, let's say, with a scientific structure to it, because then each of these statements are linked to one of the criteria. So again, this is my invitation. There's a QR code. So if you're watching right now, you can scan the QR code. If you're watching the recording, you can scan the QR code. Again, that event is next Thursday on December 12th. You just registered and we're going to send you a link and we're going to have a great time. And if you're busy, because I know this is the holiday season and it's busy time and it doesn't work for you, just connect with me. I definitely want to connect with Dr. Sean there. I think there's a lot of collaboration that we do. Our systems can be integrated to whatever learning management system you have. It can be co-branded. So really what we want is to help out people who are helping people identify where they are in terms of recovery and addiction. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I will gladly take questions.
Thank you so much, Isabelle. It looks like I was able to copy and paste the link from the QR code, but would you mind sharing your screen again and just having that QR code up for some people who still want to scan it?
Yes.
Thank you. And let's see, someone asked, is R1 learning evidence-based?
Absolutely, yes. Yep. So let's say the recovery capital. So we work really what we did, we went out and we curated all the best of the best. So for the recovery capital, we went with Dr. Best. I mean, his name is Best, Dr. Best, and he helped us create that. So if the leaders in the field are alive, we worked with them, not me personally, but the development team worked with them personally. In the case of the DSM 5TR, of course, we use that information. So yes, it is absolutely evidence-based. In fact, that's what really got me sold. As a trainer, as a person in recovery, as a recovery coach, I'm national board certified health and wellness coach. I could not create the kind of content, the kind of structure and training. And when I saw R1 Learning, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what I've been dreaming about. So the evidence base is really what got me sold.
Great. Someone else followed up with, what is the cost, or how much is the cost? I'm sure it depends, but if there's like a model or structure you could share, I think that would be helpful.
Yes, all that is on, I mean, it's very transparent. All our pricing is all online. You can get a DECA card for $25 with the facilitator's guide. Some of them is $70, one is $140. You can go from like the smallest thing, we have some free worksheets, and you can go to full-on integration with the app. So it's a really wide range of pricing. It all online in the R1 store.
There was another question. How many people has this been used with? Do you have that data?
How many people?
Like
Am
I
I
think
still sharing my screen?
no, you just
Okay,
stopped, but I think
I
everyone
just
got the
stopped.
link. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know how many people, but it's above 100,000. So like I said, it really started in the behavioral health, really to gain the credibility. And I mean, it's being, like I said, it's being launched in all the jails in California, all in Indiana. There's tons of recovery center. I am working personally with all the recovery-friendly workplace folks. So I introduced this maybe 6 months ago. So they're looking at, how we're going to fund this. It's always a question. We're working with some recovery coaches and treatment centers. So it's way over 100,000, but I don't have a number. I don't want to make one up.
That's fair. Someone said if it is listed on evidence-based resource lists, it could be covered by some grant funds.
Yes, yes. And if and when you are interested in collaborating with us, we do have all the verbiage to help you write your grants. Yes.
Would you mind dropping your email and maybe a link to the website in the chat, just in case anyone thinks of something later so they can look this up? I think that would be great. No, I think this is a really fantastic resource as well.
Okay, so it's here. Did I just got out or no?
Oh no, I can see it. I'll go ahead and type your email in the chat for anyone who likes. Let's see. Okay, Isabelle Wellness. Sorry, I'm reading it out loud as I'm typing it. Gmail.com.
Okay.
Okay, I just put your email in the chat. Does anyone else have any other questions? Let's see if I can get that. r1learning.com.
Okay, one more time. Like, I hope you guys will take me up on this offer because it is really cool. So I noticed like today, most of the screens are off. On a day that I'm doing a training, all cameras are on and it's not me talking. Like, I just facilitate the conversation. We do the activity and we share our experience. Really, what also got me so much deeply in love with this product as a coach is that we are really looking, it's a strength-based thing. So I cannot be the one coming from the outside and say, hey, this is what you need. The tool that I'm presenting to you is you are the owner of your life. You know your circumstances. You know what you've been through. So you really are using it's motivational interviewing to find out where people are at. Like if you are um, as a coach, the trans theoretical model is like, are they in contemplation? Are they in action? Like, where are they? When we do this activity, we can tell that maybe sometimes they're in pre-contemplation, but sometimes they're in contemplation, and maybe they're already into action on some of the items. So really shining the light on the action, the highest level, if you will, of their transformational progress. That's what we're doing, right? We really want to lift up the people and say, hey, you're already doing this. What else do you think you could do, rather than me coming and telling them what to do?
No, that's fantastic. Let's see. I don't see any new questions. Before we wrap up, everyone, are there any last burning questions you have to ask?
I have a burning question. Please give me a show of hand. Who, like with your little react button, who signed up for the training? Who am I going to see again? Anybody has a little up? Patty, right on. Looking forward to seeing you. Gail, looking forward to seeing you. Awesome. Jessica, Joy, thank you so much. All right, Madavi, awesome. Jessica, cool. Candace, yay. Awesome. Richard, I see you. Awesome.
One last comment said, is there another word we could use instead of triggering, like triggers?
The question for me?
Maybe for the whole chat, or maybe for you if you want to speak to it. I think that's fine.
Okay. Yes. So the other thing
Oh,
is that the question for me?
yeah, they suggested the changes to switch it to activating. So like I think when you were talking about some
I
of the
love it.
examples,
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Barbara, for that comment. Yes. Yeah. And we're trying to reduce stigma, and the words change. Like it changed so quickly. So I apologize if
oh
it activated a response in you.
no, that's a brilliant, because I always wonder about that too. Same with targeting, like when you want to target an audience, it's like, oh, that's not the right term.
Yep.
I think activating is a great term to use in place of triggering.
Love it. Yeah.
No, I'm gonna keep that note for myself. Well, thank you so, so much, Isabelle, and thank you so much, Sean, for being with us here today.
I
Um,
see 2 hands.
I think those are people who just raised their hands when you asked who signed up and they didn't turn it off. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. I'll see you,
Well,
Barbara.
great. Well, have a
Thank
wonderful day, everyone. And remember, you can grab those emails from the chat or look it up on our website. We'll send out a post-meeting summary within the next day. That'll also have those emails there for you. So have a great rest of y'all's Wednesdays, everyone. All right. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Mhm.